Hey, here we are, the end of the course, video 6. I always think of this book I was read when I was young about the monster at the end of the book. You were being warned there was a monster at the end of the book all the way through. This is Sesame Street, by the way. The monster turned out to be Grover. He was a friendly monster, and we'd been worried about a scary one. In a way, this is the reverse. This is the scary part. I often see people give talks or advice to other people, and they give them a whole bunch of information about strategies, and then they leave. And very often what happens is, yes, the people have that information, but then they don't think about it very much, and the person leaves, and the information basically disappears, and it has no real impact. In creating this course right from the beginning, our true and utter hope was that we would have a real positive impact on you and your mental health, that you would learn these strategies and through practice eventually have these as sort of second nature, and that they would in fact help you and help those around you as you interact with them. Whether that promise is fulfilled is really all in your hands now. And so I want to talk a little bit about this critical step of practicing what you've learned in order to make it a skill that you have. Okay, so this is all about practice, really. And I like to just kind of make the point like this. And if you've ever wanted to play a musical instrument, you know this well. You can learn a lot about things in a short period of time. And for example, in this course, you've learned a lot about certain strategies that you could use to kind of enhance your mental well-being and to give you control over that anxiety response that comes up. But that's just information. If you actually want to, for example, play a guitar, or if you want those skills I told you about to be things that you actually do, then you need to practice. It's a very different learning process. Skills only get better with practice. In fact, there just is no shortcut to practice. And that's why we don't play 5 musical instruments and know how to dance 3 different styles and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's so many things we would love to be able to do, but we only have so much time. And so we have to decide what things are important to us, and then we have to learn them right. And learning them right means gaining the information and then putting it into practice. So the only way a skill becomes stronger is through intentional practice. Think of any athlete. They decided that they were going to spend the time working on the skills because they wanted them to develop. So yeah, athlete, musician, dancer, or doctor, practice is the only path. So if you watch this whole course but you put it away and don't think about it again, it's not going to have much impact. Okay. In fact, when we see skill learning, there's another sort of aspect of practice that makes it tricky, and this has been highlighted in 2 ways here. Let me start with this middle trial. This is sort of the amount of time you invest compared to the level of the skill. And what you see, actually this is labeled wrong. I'm now seeing this should be the time you invest, this should be the level of the skill. Interesting. What you see is that early on, it seems like you put in a lot of time trying to get better at something, and you don't feel like you're getting that much better. And it's not until somewhere along this practice curve that we see this real pickup in skill. And so you have to invest a lot of time before you start to see a real payback on your investment. And that's why so many of us, bail out of karate at some point in time, or whatever. We say, okay, we're going to do this, but then we do it for 4 or 5 weeks. We don't feel like we're getting much better, and we say, oh, I guess I'm not good at this, and we bail. That's what you have to not do. You have to stick with that practice, because if you stick with it, that's when you start to feel the payoff. After you've stuck with it for a while, after you got the foundational sort of stuff in there, then you start to see the return on investment. So that's the first thing I want to say to you. Practice, but stick with it. Even if it seems like, oh, I don't know if I'm getting this, stick with it. It'll come. The other thing is it can actually even seem to get worse sometimes because of this kind of interesting thing. So this says unconscious incompetence. So when you start something, you're not when there's some skill that you haven't worked at a lot, you're probably not very good at it, but you probably don't even know that you're not very good at it because you haven't actually been paying attention to how good you are. Once you start to learn about that skill and say, yeah, okay, that's what I need to do. And so let's say, even becoming aware of that feeling of anxiety, once you start to really look for it, then you might realize, wow, I'm anxious all the time. Holy crud, I'm anxious a lot more than I thought I was. And this is what we might call conscious incompetence. And you might actually feel worse, like, wow, you actually felt like you had your stuff together a little better before you started looking at your stuff. And now you're looking at your stuff and you're saying, it's not all that together. I'm worse at this than I thought. Sometimes that sort of step down is a critical first step in the learning process. That realization that, you know what, this is a skill that I'm not very good at. And then you move from what we call conscious incompetence to conscious competence. You start getting better and better, and you start to realize that. And this is where the skills really starts to get natural. With more practice still, it goes from conscious competence to unconscious competence. That means, there may be times when you're stepping into a stressful situation, if you're at this conscious competence thing where you're still thinking really hard about, okay, let me kind of put that relaxation over my body and let me really focus on this active listening. And so you might be consciously thinking about these skills, but if you continue to do them over and over again, this is what we really want to reach, unconscious competence. The point where these skills are just now how you go about doing things. When you walk into those situations, you naturally take that moment to relax your body and mind. You naturally go into that active listening mode, etc. And you naturally feel the need to do those things. You can sense the anxiety build. This is where we want to get to. So just realize, just like if you watch Star Wars and remember Luke fighting, trying to learn these skills and dropping spaceships into swamps and all that. Skill learning is frustrating sometimes. It's slower than we want, but if you stick to it, you have it for life. And in your job, it's such a critical skill for helping you mentally, cope with this unreasonable ask that we've talked about. So I just want you kind of be aware of that. This is now what's going to be key. You have the information, practice, and realize that practice can be a little frustrating and a little annoying, but stick with it, and it'll pay off, okay? So how, what are some things you can do to kind of help you as you practice? Early on, rely on external aids. And I've talked to you about some of these things. So they may include notifications, setting those alarms to help you get in the habit of noticing, of checking in. You may want to schedule times for guided relaxation. Don't just say, oh, when I think of it, I'll do that. No. Put it in your schedule. Specific times, 15 minutes here and there, I'm going to do the guided relaxation. And again, have it notify you. Hey, it's time to do this. Things like partners, for example. Have partners kind of there and checking in and being your external support. If they think you're looking a little anxious, they might say, hey, might want to do a check-in now. What are you thinking? Well, where are you at? Maybe this is a good time for a guided relaxation break, etc. You've got this person at your side that's, watching you closely and there with you all the time. If you guys can help each other, on this journey early on, that could really be beneficial, especially in those early stages. Once you get better, you can phase out some of the external aids, and you'll start naturally learning to notice and relax and listen. But again, you still may have that conscious intervention, right? You still may have to tell yourself to do that for a while. And again, having a partner, somebody who can sort of catch you when you're perhaps not. Maybe before you even leave the car for that traffic stop, just to say, okay, get relaxation. Let's do it. All right, I'm in a good spot. Let's go. I'm on that line, right? You want to be on that line. If you stick with it, then if you're not already, you will be that cop. It will be just part of who you are. And at that point, you'll be glad to have done all the practice. You'll be someone who just diffuses tension naturally, that's better able to control and respond to your own stresses, and also to the stresses of those around you. And that'll just help you be more effective, and it'll help you be a better police officer, to be quite honest with you, and a more together police officer. and hopefully it'll help you, in your home life and beyond as well. Again, these are skills that you can use anywhere. So, that's the real trick at this point in the course. Those first 5 lectures mean nothing if this one is thrown out the window, if the practice isn't there. So, it is kind of on you now to take what you've learned and practice, practice, practice. And, I truly, truly think it can make a big difference for you. I just want to end this with a thank you to all of you for watching and for following along and thinking. I hope you see the value in what we've talked about. I want to especially thank Dave Haynes, who really again spurred me to think this course was a great idea, and who is in your corner every step of the way. It's fantastic. We both really hope you found this valuable and that it has a positive impact on your lives. That's the goal. I put my email address here. Feel free, if you have questions or thoughts, feel free to email me. No problem at all. Okay, so with that, this is the monster at the end of the book. I will close out the course here. I wish you all the best with all you do. And actually, let me do one more thing. I've talked about the unreasonable ask. Part of what makes it such a tough job isn't just what we expect of you, but how little thanks you get for what you do, from all of us who you're doing this for. So, let me not just say thank you for watching the course. Let me say thank you. Thank you for what you do. Thank you for what you do for us all. It is such a critical thing to have, a good police officers looking out for us and keeping us safe. And yeah, I don't know how else to say it, but a sincere thank you for what you do. If we've helped you do it better, fantastic. But really appreciate you guys. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.